Everybody, coming to you today inside the camper van, and it's blistering 12 degrees outside, but in here I'm enjoying a nice 75-degree warm van. So there's been something on my heart that I wanted to share with you today. Recently I watched a YouTube video, and normally I just ignore these kind of videos, videos that are, like, you can tell that are just designed to attack Christianity and to attack, just to attack my faith. And this video in particular, you could tell it was an attack on Christianity, but also attack on just belief in God in general, and an attack on belief in creation. And normally, I don't get too upset about these videos, and like I said, I don't, just normally ignore them. But there was something about this video. I noticed that all the points that the atheist who posted this video, he kind of grouped a whole bunch of popular people, little excerpts from each one of them, and grouped them together in this compilation of arguments against the faith. And I got to noticing that, these are pretty much personify all of the arguments I hear all the time, over and over and over, from people who say that they're atheists. And I thought it would be a great idea to go ahead and make a rebuttal to that video, and I'll leave you a link to it. And as I said, I normally don't get too upset about these videos. And the reason why is because, Jesus predicted that that's exactly the way the world would receive us. And he told us in John, he said, if the world hates you, you know that the world hated me before it hated you. He said, if you were of the world would love its own. But because you're not of this world, but I have chosen you out of this world, therefore the world will hate you. He said, remember I told you that a servant is not greater than his master. If they've called the master of the household Beelzebub, which means devil, how much more will they call the servants of the household? And so here Jesus is saying they're gonna, the world is gonna reject you. The world is gonna hate you. The majority of the world will hate true Christians, will hate true Christianity. And so I know this video was designed to try and detract from my faith and my belief in God, but I actually get excited when I see videos like this, because it solidifies my faith in seeing the fulfillment of Jesus' prophecy. In fact, I get more discouraged when people just ignore Christianity than I do when people attack it, because that's what Jesus predicted would happen. So anyways, what I thought I would do in this video is I'm going to go through point by point and show you the logical fallacies of all these arguments made by these celebrity types, and show you, try to show you the truth.
Tell me the reasons why you don't believe in all the other gods, and that's the reason I don't believe in yours. And I've got nothing against people believing in God at all. In fact, if it did make you a kinder person, if you only did good things in his name, then great, but there's the rub. It's when I see some of these religious fundamentalists saying that they've told their 5-year-old children that if they turn out gay, they will burn in hell. That to me is...
So this first guy, he's saying that his argument against Christianity and why he doesn't believe in the God of Christianity is the same reason Christians don't believe in other gods. And he said any argument that a Christian can make against why they don't believe in other gods is the same argument he can make against Christianity. Well, I don't think that's true. And the reason I say that is because, perhaps unknowledgeable Christians make foolish arguments to try to support Christianity. But anyone who studied Christianity knows that there's plenty of evidence to support Christianity that doesn't support any other religion out there. And I like to use what I call the SHIP test for science, history, and consistency and prophecy. You see, if you were going to get on a ship, you wouldn't just get on any old rust bucket and sail across the seas and hope that it would withstand the pounding waves of the ocean. In that same way, we shouldn't get in any just any old religion simply because our parents believed it, or you're making a change to because you want to marry somebody that's of that faith, or whatever. We should examine our belief system. We should examine our religion to see whether it's truly able to withstand the pounding waves of logic and reason, and to get us to our intended destination. And the ship test, science, history, and consistent prophecy will reveal that to us. For example, in the Mormon Church, Mormon founder Joseph Smith prophesied, "Thus saith the Lord," that the sun and the moon was inhabited with human life. And you can actually look it up online. This is something that the Mormons really don't want you to know about, but it demonstrates that Joseph Smith, the founder of Mormonism, was a false prophet. Likewise, in the Quran, we see that it tells us that Alexander the Great followed the sun, found that it sets every night in a muddy spring. Something we know is scientifically just impossible. So right off the bat, you can see how a religion can fail the known science test. And I have to stress known, because just because a theory is popular and a lot of people believe in a theory doesn't mean that it's proven, that it's proven, a proven fact. It's a proven fact there's no human life on the moon or the sun, and it's a proven fact that the sun doesn't set every night in a muddy spring. However, when it comes to popular theories today, like the theory of evolution, these theories have very strong arguments against them, and they're not set in stone, proven fact, I guess is what I'm saying. And so the Bible is the only book that I know that passes the science test 100% with flying colors. It doesn't fail known science. Now the next one, history. Does it fail the history test? Well, if you look in the Quran, again, the Quran tells us that the Pharaoh of Egypt threatened to have Moses crucified. Well, the interesting thing is that we know through archaeology and history that crucifixion wasn't even a form of execution that would exist for another 7 centuries after the time of Moses. So that, disqualifies the Quran as being historically accurate. Then we look at inconsistencies in the Quran, and the I stands for inconsistency. For example, in one place it says that Allah created the heavens and earth in 6 days, which agrees with the Bible, by the way. But in another place it says that Allah did it in 8 days. Well, which was it, 6 or 8? It can't be both. It was either 6 or it was either 8. But so the Quran, there's a lot of inconsistencies I could point to. The prophetic test. Now, interestingly, if you look at in the early Mormon literature, you find that Joseph Smith made a lot of false prophecies. Besides the sun and the moon prophecy, he predicted the coming of Christ. I mean, you look at other religions like excuse me, I've been fighting a cold that I'm recently getting over. Other religions that are offshoots from Christianity that are considered, by Christian standards, are considered cults, such as the Jehovah's Witnesses. The Jehovah's Witnesses made many false prophecies about the coming of Christ, and that they actually set dates, and they said he was coming on this date. Well, he didn't show up, so they reset a new date, and they reset a new date, and then a new date, and they kept resetting dates. And in 1974, they were even encouraging their followers to sell all their homes and property and to give their money to the Jehovah's Witness organization in the expectation of Christ's return in 1975. And sad to say, in 1975, when Jesus didn't return as they had prophesied, And they do say that they get their direction through angelic direction the same way that the prophet Ezekiel did. So they do set themselves up. The Watchtower Magazine organization does, in fact, set themselves up as prophets of God. And they've been shown to be false prophets over and over. But the Bible, on the other hand, passes the ship test 100%. It passes known science. It passes known history. It actually has been shown to be correct over and over again by history. There are many times where scoffers would scoff at things that the Bible said, and well, we don't know anything about that. And later, archaeologists actually dug up and proved the Bible to be true. So the Bible has been substantiated over and over again by archaeology. The inconsistency test, there's not one single, think about it. Here we're talking about a book that was written over a 1,500 year span. It was written by over 40 different authors from all walks of life, kings to peasants, fishermen to philosophers. It was written on 3 different continents, in Asia, Africa, and Europe. It was written in 3 languages, Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, over this long period of time. And yet, not a single inconsistency. Not one. I mean, people pull things out of context and try to say, well, there's an inconsistency. But when you really look at it in context, you see that's not what the text meant at all. So, the Bible doesn't have a single inconsistency. And when it comes to prophecy, there are literally hundreds and hundreds of prophecies made in the Bible, made by prophets of God, that were fulfilled exactly the way they said. I mean, right down to the most minute detail. And I'm not talking about obscure prophecies like today you're going to be prospered by a tall, dark stranger, and and you go to a gas station and someone of Indian descent actually gives you too much change back. You know, that's pretty obscure, but in the Bible, it actually listed a name of a king, Cyrus, that would rise to power and reestablish the nation of Israel again after they had been destroyed and conquered by the Babylonians. It mentioned, it just went through detail after detail of prophecies that were fulfilled and specific names and places and times and events and my favorite prophecies, as you all know, are the 333 prophecies surrounding the coming of the Messiah, the Holy One that was predicted. You see, in the Garden of Eden, God told Adam and Eve that out of the seed of the woman one would come who would crush the head of the serpent, but he would bruise his heel in the process. So, I'm sorry this is running on a little bit too long here, but we can see that the Bible fulfilled all these prophecies. It said he'd be born of the Jewish lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and of Jacob. It said the Messiah, when he came, would be born in the town of Bethlehem. He'd be born of a virgin mother. It said he'd begin his ministry on the shores of Galilee. It said that he would be rejected by his own people. And literally, in Zechariah, it says he would be betrayed for 30 pieces of silver, hundreds of years before it even happened. Predicted that he would be wounded for our transgressions, bruised for our iniquities, and by his stripes that we saw him take on his back. This was hundreds of years before it even happened. It said by his stripes we would be healed. And that's what happened when Jesus suffered and died on Calvary's cross. It says that his hands would be pierced through. It literally predicted that his executioners would gamble for his clothing as he suffered and died. It prophesied that his body would be taken down and laid in a rich man's tomb. My favorite prophecy, of course, is Psalm 16, verse 10. It says that the Holy One would not be in the grave long enough to see corruption. And that's a prediction of the resurrection. And so, there's 300, and think about it, 333 prophecies just about the Messiah, just about the coming of the Holy One of God. And scholars tell us it'd be impossible for anybody to intentionally fulfill these, and even to accidentally fulfill them would be equivalent to filling the state of Texas knee deep with silver dollars and taking one silver dollar and painting a red X on it and throwing it somewhere in the state of Texas and burying it out there in the middle of the state of Texas, and then having a blindfolded man walk through the state of Texas and randomly, at his choosing, reach down and only pick up one coin with that red X on it. That the odds of him doing that are the odds of just fulfilling 8 of these prophecies. Yet Jesus of Nazareth of Galilee fulfilled all 333. So the reason I believe the God of the Bible is the God of creation isn't for some abstract objective reason. The reason I believe is because only the Bible passes the ship test with flying colors.